Hey, it's Brian, brain-based performance coach, and this series we're talking about the low back and specifically low back pain. So today what I want to start with is just some general educational concepts that are really important to understand for people in chronic pain. So chronic pain has been redefined to somewhere in the 6 to 12 week range. If pain lasts that long, it's starting to be defined as chronic. And with chronic pain, one key thing to understand is that your brain is constantly searching for safe positions, and when your brain feels safe and is moving through the environment in a way that's perceived as safe, there's going to be less pain. When there's an increase in threat and you feel less safe in how you're moving, there's going to be an increase typically in muscle tension and the likelihood that people are experiencing pain. So that's concept one. Second important concept as we get going into the movement template is we want to achieve one pain-free rep. So we always want to help people get one pain-free rep, because if you can do one and we find the position that works really well for you, then you could do two. And if you can do two and you listen to your body, you might be able to do 3, 4, 5, and so on. And each consecutive pain-free rep is proving to your brain that you can do pain-free movement, and it's also rewiring the brain to move with less pain instead of more pain. So really key for neuroplastic change, moving in the positive versus the negative direction with that. You're basically finding body positions that are going to help rewire your brain, if you think of it that way. And we're going for the positive, of course, versus going the wrong direction with this stuff. So the first thing when we think about the low back and different movements, we have lateral bending side to side, we have rotation, we have flexion or forward bend, and we have extension or back bend. We also have lateral gliding movements. So the side to side glide we'll talk about in video 2 in the series as a tool. But for now, just want you to feel out those movements and go into the range of motion fairly slowly at first, right before you experience some pain or discomfort. So if you don't have pain, awesome. If you do though, stop right before you get into the range of motion that actually hurts. Find out what that is. So we're getting a baseline here. Maybe you're working more on rotation today because that's really been problematic for you. Maybe you're a side bend. We want to improve that because that's been the problem area. Or maybe it's back or forward bend for you. Just to pick one, I'm going to pick back bend today, and then we're going to get into our template. So I want you to repeat the movement. First thing we're going to talk about is the feet. So we have 3 foot positions. I'm going to do a back bend with my feet pointing straight forward. I have my heels right under my hips. This is a comfortable neutral stance. So I'll test out, okay, does that feel good? How far can I go with a nice slow movement? And again, before I hit the pain or discomfort spot, then I'm going to turn my feet in. So we now have feet pointed in and retest. And then we have feet turned out and retest. And so we're trying to find the most comfortable foot position initially. So for me, I'm going to stick with neutral today. The second spot that we're going to look at with the low back is just posturally and positionally, finding that safe spot, best position for right now as we try to rewire the brain and low back connection. We're going to bend the knees a little bit. So I want you to try with knees bent versus knees straight, your same movement. So I'm going to be knees bent, feet forward, and then retest. And that actually feels a little bit better for me. So I'm going to stick with a knee bend, and then we're going to move up to the pelvis. In the pelvis, we're going to either tuck the pelvis or we're going to point the tailbone back. So this would be a posterior tilt or an anterior tilt. Now, with each of those positions, keep in whatever you found in the feet, the knees, and then go into a pelvic tuck or posterior tilt, and again, go into your movement, whatever that was for you, and retest. Then we're going to go into the anterior tilt, so arching the low back, getting the tailbone pointed back. And for me, I can tell you right away, that's not the winner. So I want to be in neutral stance, and this is for me, you got to pick your best position, knees bent, pelvic tuck, okay? From there, we're going to look at a little bit the inner ear. And so our vestibular system, or our inner ear, is key because it helps control backside muscle tone. And all those muscles along the spinal column, if we have imbalances, they can pull on the vertebrae, they can cause misalignments And that's a lot controlled by the inner ear. So we got to think a little bit broader. Neck up actually influences the low back. Your brain actually influences pain. It's probably the key missing, unaddressed link in what's going on in the brain-body pathways if you've never looked at things this way. So we're going to hold on to a wall. You could hold on to a chair. Just want you to hold on to a stable object. So we're going to see with our foot position, our knee position, our pelvic position, do we get an increase in motion when we actually press into like a wall, a chair? You could hold on to a couple walking sticks and get an idea. Does that increase the feeling of safety? Does it increase my pain-free range of movement? And so for me, maybe a little bit. If it does, and that was like, oh wow, that was the first one where I went that far and it felt that good, you'd want to make a mental note of that. We probably want to do some things with the inner ear and address some things for the vestibular system and training it. The next one is eye position. So we're going to do 4 main eye positions. And again, because the eyes are connected to muscles in the neck and even down along the spine, we want to test 4 main eye positions today. We're going to bend the knees, get your knee position, pelvic position, foot position set up, everything same, and then we're going to look up. And so if looking up helps movement, we want to know that, make a note, compare that to eyes down. Oh, and for me, that's not a winner. So the eye position here that we find, maybe there's 1 or 2 that help your movement again. Now we're going to go eyes to the right. So I'm going to look to the right while I get into my foot position, my knee position, my pelvic position, and maintain eyes right while I go back into that range of motion. That one felt a little bit better. Eyes left. So we're going to hold a gaze to the left. And that one felt worse. So I would stick with eyes up or eyes right. Personally, that's what I'm finding helps my movement the most, that I'm trying to improve on in the spine. The reason that we want to address the eyes and the inner ears because they send signals directly into the brain to control positional muscle tone. So your positional muscle tone or muscle tension is really key in helping the low back function, get its optimal mobility, and even can impact on the strength output in the musculature that supports the spine. So as you're moving through the world, the eyes are constantly taking in information, and if they process information well, that makes you feel safer. Your inner ear, if you feel balanced and your brain doesn't have to worry about how stable you are, also going to make you feel safer. So we want to, at first, use the tools necessary to improve movement. Hopefully you found some of these positions helpful and useful. You would just practice these a few times a day. So go back to your foot setup, your knee setup, your pelvic position, then a favorite eye position, and then you'd go into your movement, and hopefully that's working better for you over time. Remember to stay out of the pain-free range. You want to accumulate some pain-free repetition throughout the day, and then remember what your foot position, knee position, pelvic position, eye position was, because we'll build on that in some of the upcoming videos on the low back in this series. So let us know how you did in the comments, which positions maybe were the best for you. And if this was helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks.